Hello. My name is Alex Brown. I'm a BCBA, and welcome back to this hybrid RBT training. Today we're going to go through task list B. Don't forget to look out for the secret code word of the day throughout your training. And any questions that you have that come up along the way, jot them down in your virtual training workbook. And when we meet in person at the end of your virtual training, we'll go over everything. So our objective for today, and this is taken from the task list and the initial competency assessment, is to understand what a preference assessment is and how to implement the different types of preference assessments, how to collect ABC data in your observation, how to assist with individualized assessment procedures, and assisting with functional assessment procedures. Let's just dive right in. What is considered an assessment? So an assessment consists of choice measures, and they can be conducted directly or indirectly. And it's a process of gathering and recording data. So when we're conducting assessments, indirectly would be you're not directly observing your client. So you might generate interviews or do surveys. And direct assessment is when you are directly looking at your client. So it's a way of collecting the data either directly through ABC data, through listing, what you see them interacting with in the environment, or indirectly, which is collecting data through like survey. A choice measure is a formal evaluation of what items or activities act as potential reinforcers. So this includes presenting several items or activities to a client one at a time and observing and recording the choice that the client makes. And oftentimes we're going to look at how long they spend with each item. So if we're presenting them with a little fidget toy, we'll start our timer when they begin engaging with it, and we'll end a timer when they're done or they put it down. And that can give us a lot of information on if it's something that would be highly desirable in the future. Some ways that you can determine possible or hypothesized reinforcers would be to use a reinforcer menu, like the example that's on the right here. Or you can conduct surveys, questionnaires, and these are indirect ways of collecting data on potential reinforcers through direct observation. So you put them in a room full of different activities and see what they can approach. Withholding items and activities versus free play, and asking others what they know about the client. So asking parents, asking teachers or classroom aides that the child normally works with. Then you have your trial-based assessments. So there's single stimulus. So you present one item at a time, a paired stimulus preference assessment, and you put the items in a pair and present them to the client. This is also called forced choice. So they have to choose between one or the other. And then there's multiple stimulus with replacement and multiple placement without replacement, or multiple stimulus without replacement. So you present 3 or more choices in an array, and then you record which ones they take. So we're going to take some time to go through some of these examples. Okay, so this first example is a single stimulus preference assessment.
Okay. You want the guitar?
No, thank you.
You don't want it?
No.
And you'll see that the
Yay.
The recorder is presenting one object at a time. Giving the child an opportunity to engage with the item presented.
Do you want the giraffe? Or the zebra? Sorry.
It's a giraffe.
It's not a giraffe, you're right. Do you want the zebra?
Yes.
Okay.
Brown.
And during these observations or these trials, you will be recording how long they're engaged with each item.
Thanks. Let's see.
Okay.
Do you want the
So the next one we're going to look at is our paired stimulus preference assessment. And again, this is when they present 2 items at a time.
Bye-bye, workstation. Bye-bye.
Let's find a new favorite toy.
Elijah, look what I have. 4.
He's showing how they both work. And then asking to make a choice.
No. We're gonna say bye-bye, piano.
So it's acceptable to give
Bye-bye.
about 30 to 60
Elijah, look what I
seconds to
have.
engage with an item.
Or a workbench. Which do you choose? You chose workbench. Elijah said, I want to play with a workbench. That's your favorite song on the workbench.
Hey, watch it go. I see some yellow. I see a yellow square. It's popping up right there. I'll pound it down. There's a triangle of blue. I think I'll tap it too. And down it goes.
piano, and Sesame Street. Pick one. You chose Sesame Street. I like being able to push these. Bye-bye, Sesame Street. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best.
Okay. So next we're going to come back to our presentation, which I exited out by accident. Here we go. Okay, so we're gonna watch multiple stimulus with replacement.
One
Cookie.
chocolate chip cookie.
So you can see that they're presenting an edible.
Cookie. Take one.
Over here.
No.
Edible reinforcement. So you don't want to present tangible items such as toys with edibles. You want to do two different types of preference assessment. And that is because most of the time our kiddos are going to want to choose the food over the toy. So you want the food to be separate and be its own.
Your water. Let me see. Ready? Pick one.
All right, so as you can see, they're in an array of three
Chocolate
or
chip
more.
cookie again.
She's recording what he chose. And it's with replacement. So a cookie comes back into the array.
I'm chewing your cookie. You chewing.
Give the child enough time to eat.
Are you ready?
If it's edible.
Finish first.
Ah.
Finish first.
Pick one.
Finish. Yup. Ready?
Go.
Pick one.
And she switched the
First
location
one.
of the cookie.
up.
So I don't know if you saw in that first presentation, it was on the end, now it's in the middle. So you want to switch up how you present the stimulus in your array, each trial.
Over here.
Oh, here. Pick one.
Did you finish? Wait.
Wait.
Good job waiting,
Cookies and
Lindsay.
snacks.
Ready?
Pick one.
Pick one. Fruit snack.
Is that? No. Ready?
One more.
More.
One more.
Whoa. So
Are you ready?
that. Pick one.
Pick one.
Cookie.
Oh, one. Pick one. Which one?
One
Cookie or fruit snack? Good, you picked fruit snack. Give me cookie.
Oh,
I think we got your top two.
oh, it's funny. Okay, and so then we'll go to our last video example. This is multiple stimulus without replacement. So you're removing the one they choose from the array, and then
This is how she started losing weight.
left.
My name is Debbie, and with
In the
Noom,
array.
I've lost 130 pounds.
We'll just skip this.
Go.
All right. Pick one.
Pick a.
Pick one.
So it's more in the array.
Good job.
Shows the one in the middle.
Pick a.
Fruit snack first.
You have to finish.
Finish fruit snack.
Cookie.
Oh, I know you're already ready, aren't you? Ready?
Set. Go. Cookie.
Pick
And
one.
then he has to choose what's left.
Pick one. Pick one. Good
Choose
job.
one
You
from
picked
the
chocolate chip
remaining.
cookie.
Items.
Cookie. Pick one.
Cookie first, then pick. Eat that one first. Chew that one first. You ready?
Set. Go.
Pick one.
Pick one.
Good, you picked Cheez-It.
Pick one.
Water first, then pick. Drinking water. Good job, Lincoln. Ready?
Set. Pick one.
Pick one. You picked Oreo.
Cookie.
Chew first.
Pick one.
Chew first, then pick.
Three. Ready?
Finish your Oreo first.
Pick one.
Are you gone? Let me see. Let me see. Ah.
Ah.
All right. Pick one.
Pick one.
You picked popcorn.
Ready? Go. Go fish.
Go fish. Good job, Lincoln.
Okay. Okay, so that is the examples of the different types of preference assessments that we would use. And you would assist as the RBT in implementing those and gathering that data and the information alongside a BCBA. So just to break down what the data collection would look like for a paired stimulus preference assessment, this is a sample data sheet. So you'll, from your surveys, your reinforcer surveys and your interview, you might generate your list of 4 potential reinforcers that you would use in a session. Again, you could also do edible, but it would be a different assessment. You wouldn't combine the two. You would place the items, 2 of the items on the table. So I like this version of a data sheet because you can see that the way that you're supposed to present it for your trial is outlined for you. So it's very easy to use. The first trial, you're going to pair items A and B. Next trial, you're going to compare C and A. And third trial, A and D. So by presenting it this way, each item will have the opportunity to be presented with the other at least once. So you give the direction or the SD, pick one or what do you want? And the child reaches for the item that they want. And then you just circle which one it is. If they reach for both items, you're going to block access to the items and repeat the task directive. Pick one. And if they continue to make the error across several trials where they're reaching for both and not picking just one, you might want to consider just a single stimulus preference assessment or free operant observation, where you present one item at a time, or you just let them approach different items on their own. Again, you want to allow the child to consume the edible item if it's food, or give them time to play with the toy that they choose. And then you block access to the remaining item by putting off to the side until the next trial. While they're engaging with that toy, then you can set up the next array of items according to your data sheet. If you're using the toys, allow the child to play with them for 15 to 30 seconds. 30 seconds is kind of like the ballpark range. And then remove the toy to present the next array. So it's always helpful to do like a 3, 2, 1 countdown, or say my turn, just to give them that little heads up that it's about to be taken from them. And then you alternate the sides of the items. If they refuse to make a selection, move to the next trial, and then repeat steps 4 through 7 until the set number of trials is complete. And then you just circle how many times the item was chosen, and then you have a kind of a hierarchy of the most desired or preferred item and your lowest preferred item. So that might help you in the future determine like what reinforcer you want to use during like discrete trial training. An indirect assessment is you're not directly working with the client or have the client present with you. So again, this goes back to our handouts, our surveys, questionnaires with parents and teachers and aides, people that might directly know the child. And if they're old enough, you can even interview them. I've had some high school kids that I have asked what their preferred reinforcers are, what they like, what they enjoy doing, and they were able to tell me. So that's an indirect assessment. You can ask parents and caregivers. Direct assessment involves looking directly at your client and examples of work or the behavior. So you're actually able to see what they are doing in front of you. The client is obviously present because you're there to collect the data. And it's based on descriptive measures. So it involves seeing the behavior and the environment, and then working directly one-to-one. You want to be able to observe the client or student in a natural setting. So their normal, typical classroom, or their normal gym, their daycare, their home, wherever they're going to be worked with. You want their typical environment so you can get an accurate depiction on how they engage with their environment. And then you record the time they spent with the items. So this is also known as naturalistic observation. You also can withhold items to see if they'll approach you and reach for it, or grab for the items, or ask for items. Those are all different ways that you can work through a direct assessment. So this is just a little visual of preference assessments and choice measures. So just remember, single stimulus is you present one item at a time. You can log how long they engage with it. Free operant is observing the client in the natural environment, and the client is observed engaging with different stimuli in the environment. Your paired stimulus preference assessments is when you present 2 items and they have a forced choice between the 2. So there's your AKA. Multiple stimulus without replacement is you present 3 or more objects in an array, and you don't replace what they take from the array, and they're forced to choose from what's left. Multiple stimulus with replacement is presenting 3 or more objects in an array, and once they choose something, it is replaced in the array. Okay, little graph for you for preference assessments. You can ask the person. Indirect observation. Those are your open-ended questions, your rank ordering, choice format. You could do trial-based methods. So these are your actual preference assessments. Again, it's single, multiple, and paired stimulus preference assessments. Or you can observe. So naturalistic and free operant observation in their natural environment. Okay, so that kind of wraps up preference assessments and the difference between direct and indirect observation. So your secret code word for task list B is preference assessment. Preference assessment. Moving right along. So as an RBT, you are going to be asked to assist with individualized assessment procedures. The word individualized means that the assessment is tailored for that specific individual client, student, child, and their specific needs. So if you're looking at a school, you might have your curriculum-based assessments, so your IEPs, they're individualized education, right, supports. So you also could have developmental, or you can have skills-based assessments. But it's based off of data collection, it's based off of scores, different assessments, and then you create a treatment plan or an education plan to support the child in meeting their goals based off of their scores. Developmental assessments, which is one of those three, is you have your milestones assessment, your VB maps, your ABLES, basic living, AFLs, your essentials for living. So these are all developmental assessments that look at a client's milestones or their ability to take care of themselves, like your life skills. And the reports are scored to a typical peer their age. Your role as an RBT in assessment is to assist the BCBA or BCABA in conducting the assessment. So you might be asked to collect data, do trial new skills for learning, so probes, and then communicating progress to your supervisors. I've had my RBTs complete updated preference assessments. I've had them collect new ABC data if we're seeing new behaviors occur in the environment that we're working with them in. I've had them work alongside with me while I'm doing a VB map or an ABLES, and do inter-observer agreement data. You as the RBT do not actually conduct the assessment on their own. That is the responsibility of the BCBA or the BCABA. But again, you can be alongside that BCBA while they're collecting milestones and have conversation around it, share your opinion if you know the BCBA is collaborative and wants to collaborate. But your role is to assist. So if someone ever asks you to implement or do a VB map that is out of your scope of practice, then you can say no. Your curriculum-based assessments are for explicitly taught skills within some sort of curriculum. So think of academic skills such as math or reading, and you might have accommodations for these subjects at your school. So that would all be outlined on an IEP. Going back to developmental based, kind of skipped over that, bounced around a little bit. But going back to our development-based assessments, so you're focusing on developmental milestones and skills that are expected by a certain age. So like the VB map is compared to like typical peers up to 4-5 years old. And it helps identify skill deficits. So let me go to this example. So this is one example of a question from the VB map.
If you want to prepare for the gas shortages in winter and save big on energy bills, then you need to hear this.
This
This new
is an example of VB
All
Map.
right, VB Map Level 1 demonstration video. Madison, my niece, is going to be my client again. We're going to target various skills throughout Level 1 for a total of 20. So first we're going to get started with tacting. So tacting 1M. So we're just placing stuff on this book because it's kind of cool. Anyways, we're going to get a few. Hey, who's this guy?
Mr. Incredible.
Very nice.
Next
Gonna go right there. Who's that?
Elastigirl.
Last girl. Okay, where does she go? Okay, so far she's got 1M done. Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl. And I'm also going to do those as well for 2M because she's already got 2 there. So just continuation. So we're going to knock these out pretty quick. Hey, who's this guy?
Dash.
Dash. Oh, he's super fast. Where does he go? Zoop. Oh, yeah. All right. What about this one? Who's this? Violet, okay. And where does Jack Jack go? So she's already got those 2, so we just knocked out 1 and 2. So she's completed those.
Green Sniper. Take on. Green Sniper.
All right, so that's going to count as a spontaneous tact within 60 minutes because she just tacted him without me asking.
I already had him on, he just went stick.
So I'm going to see if she'll say any other ones as a spontaneous. And next thing I'm going to do, so I skipped down to tacting 4M just because she spontaneously tacted that. Now I'm going to move to, since we've already done 1 and 2, we're going to move to tacting 3M. So I've just got some various cards here and I'm just going to go through and ask her what these are and see if she'll tact them. Hey, what's this?
A bed.
Very nice. What is this?
A spoon.
A spoon, yeah. What's that?
Shoes.
Very nice job. High fives. Good. What's this?
Car.
Car. Very nice. What's that?
A toilet.
I know that is kind of a funny word. What's that?
Bottle.
Okay.
It's a cup.
And what's that?
Fork.
A fork. Good job. All right. Let's continue playing with that. And what I'm going to do, since she tacted that last one as a bottle, I'm going to get a different picture of a cup and just see if she'll do better.
That was a cup.
Obviously, if she was a client, I wouldn't say that in front of her, but
I'm gonna go to a different page.
that sounds cool.
I'm gonna go here.
Hey, what's that?
A cup.
Okay.
I'm gonna go here.
So just wanted to make sure she knew that was exactly what a cup was.
I'm gonna kind of here because it has a name. And it's
Oh yeah, I see that. All right, so she's already tacted 4 characters, so I'm going to give her that. I'm going to skip down now to, I'm still listening to see if she'll spontaneously tact anything within a 60-minute observation. She's tacted 4 characters, and then she did 6 non-reinforcing items, so that those are tacts as well.
And a tact is like
she's gonna get her
a
10.
label.
So I'm giving her thus
When
far
she says
a
she
1
tacks
for tacting
3
1M,
objects, she's
a
labeling
1
3 different
for
objects.
tacting 2M, a 1 for tacting 3M. So far she's only spontaneously tacted 1. So I know the protocol
And a
says that she
spontaneous
does it,
tact is that she just labeled
at least 1 time
something
to get
without
half
being
there.
asked
So I'll
to
just
do
listen
so.
to see if she spontaneously tacts anything. So I'm just gonna leave 4M open for now, just to listen and see if I hear anything else. And we are going to move.
I put all their slots. I put them in large slots.
Okay, cool. Now we're going to move to listening and responding. All right, we're going to go to 1M. She does a good job of attending to my voice, so that's another thing we're watching for, just to see.
Why do you not want to stick?
Sometimes they get sick sometimes. All right, so we're going to pretend like you don't know where any of these go for a second. Okay. Hey, Madison. Nice job looking. Where does that go? So right now I'm working on 1 and 2 at the same time. So she's responded to her name when I called it. And obviously I wouldn't do these back to back, Dr. Gromit, but for time purposes, I kind of will. Hey, Madison, where does this one go? So she gets another check there because she looked. You're doing a good job. All right, where does this one go? Okay, good job. Madison, where does he go? Good job, looking. I know that book kind of slows down sometimes. All right, sit him on there for me. Cool. All right. And what about that guy? Put him on there. Good job. Madison. Good. Where does he go? Or she go? Excuse me. Ooh. Okay, my gender's right for a second here. I know, right? That's funny. All right, Madison. Good looking. Where does he go? All right, so listening, responding right there. All right, let's go ahead and put those on there. I targeted LR 1M and 2M essentially at the same. She's attending to my voice within 30 minutes. So she's already done that 5 times because she looked every time. And then also I did listening, responding 5M because, 2M because she attended there. So, or every time I called her name, she looked up and gave me eye contact. So LR 1M and 2M are done. So I'm gonna let her play for a second while I get the next thing ready. So these over here, I know you can't see them, Dr. Gromit. I'm gonna grab some of these things out. These are pre-selected reinforcers that she grabbed earlier. So I'm just gonna get the actual items. Most of the time when we're testing kids, we use cards if possible, so the kid doesn't tend to play with the item. So anyways, I'll do some of these. All right, let's put these over here, please, ma'am. All right, my turn. Okie dokie. All right, so now we're moving on to listening, responding 3M. Okay, so I'm gonna set these out. All right, wait. Find the phone. Good, that is the phone. Good job. All right, so first one is phone. Got it, that's number 1 there. 2. We'll do fishing pole and Betamax. All right, my turn. You're doing good. High fives. All right. Find the fishing pole. Very nice. Yep. Catching duds right now. Imaginary fish.
No, I'm catching a lobster. No.
All right. My turn again.
Catch her.
Thank you.
I was gonna catch her.
All right. Find the sword. Again, these are reinforcers that she pre-selected. Okay. You're doing really good. You're moving through these, bud. That's another one you picked out. Okay. My turn. All right. Point to the drum. Good. Nice job. Very good.
My head, the drum.
Yeah, you killed that. Oh, Lord. Good job. Okay. Where's Betamax? Very nice. Okay. So she gets all of those. She got all 5 for 5 different reinforcers. So she's going to get one there as well. So moving on, we're going to listening, responding 4M. So just various motor imitations here. I'm just going to ask her to perform them on command.
Okay, so I think you get a pretty good feel for how a preference assessment and a VB map assessment might look. So you're sitting down with your client and you're running through a series of trials and recording what they score. Just a little side note on communication systems. So this isn't necessarily outlined in the RBT task list, but that's not to say that you're not going to have clients that will use some sort of communication system. So the first example is PECS, Picture Exchange Communication Supports. So this is where you'll have picture icons, and usually they're Velcroed to like different boards or in books, and it's a way to teach a child to make requests and communicate using sentence strips, where they have to bring down the question or the object that they want and present it to their communication partner. So there's a specific way to implement PECS, and there's a specific way to teach PECS. And usually that instructor who teaches you how to implement PECS the correct way, like by the book, will have to have some sort of PECS communication training, or like train the trainer training, which is like a CEU in its own certification of completion. They might communicate vocally, and they might use sign language. You might see communication through nonverbal cues, so eye contact, turning away, guiding you to what they want, gesturing to what they want or need. Or you might see a communication device where they type in what they want through pictures on their device or their tablet, and they can then have a voice. When you have some sort of alternative communication system, it is important to not remove their means of communication from them as a punishment or a consequence. So if they throw their tablet, but that is their voice, you should not take their voice away, is what I'm getting at. So just to break everything down, Picture Exchange Communication System, aka PECS, and it consists of 6 phases of learning the communication. So you start by teaching an individual to give a single picture, so it's paired up with their environment. If you want a cup of something to drink, you would have a picture of a beverage and you would hand it to your communication partner. And immediately that person who gets the picture needs to honor that request and help them out and give them that object. So this reinforces the learner that every time I hand over this picture, I will be helped in getting that. The primary goal of PECS is to teach functional communication and, decrease the potential for any behaviors that might come from the inability to communicate. And it also helps develop speech. A lot of times I've seen young children start with PECS and then eventually transition to using a speech device as their language develops. Okay, and then there's receptive versus expressive language. So receptive, aka listener responding. It's how an individual responds to other people, to language. So following directions and identifying objects, that's an example. So you might tell a client, touch your head. Can they listen and respond to that directive and touch their head? You might say, hand me the book. And the child can then pick up a book and hand it to you. Do this is a common ST you might hear. Can they imitate that and make the knocking sound? Expressive language is your verbal language, and that's PECS, sign language, communication devices. Those are all included. Can they respond through communication? So you have your receptive, aka their response, how they respond to language with their body, their listening skills. Their expressive is how they respond vocally or through their communication, their ability to respond using their mouth, essentially. Now there's different types of verbal operants. And here's a little guide over on the right-hand side of the screen. So verbal behavior includes a speaker and a listener, and then there's different types. So mand, tact, echoic, intraverbal, listener responding, and imitation. You heard in the VB map example, me kind of explain a little bit on what a tact is. So your mand is your request. That's your AKA. A mand equals a request made by the speaker. So a child wants a cookie, and the child says, cookie. They're then given the cookie. So that was their request. Tact is labeling or naming objects, common objects. So there's a cookie that's present, and the child says, cookie. So he's labeling what he sees. Airplane flies up in the sky, airplane. Labeling what they see. They're tacting. Your echoic is your responding or repeating. So they echo you, they mimic you, what you say. So you hear the word cookie, and then you respond by repeating the word cookie. Your intraverbal is communication. So how you can communicate and answer questions. So you might say, the wheels on the bus go, and the child finishes the song. That would be an intraverbal example. Listener responding is aka following directions. So you say, give me cookie. Can the child give you the cookie? And then motor imitation are copying actions. So do this, and they can clap hands. So these are all your verbal operants, and we do teach all of these skills. And as an RBT, you will be expected to know what each of these are, so you can collect data and implement different skills and targets that we're trying to increase. So breaking it all down again, your mand equals a demand or a command, aka request. You can be words, signs, gestures, communication device, and it has to be an MO. So a motivation for there to be a man. So if you're hungry, you're going to ask for food. If you're thirsty, you're going to ask for a drink. There's an MO for that. There's a motivation to make those requests. Your tact is your labeling. So words, signs, gestures, communication device again. And examples is I see a dog or cup. Playground if you're walking around in the neighborhood. So just labeling what you see. Echoics, that's an echo, and it's verbally repeating. So examples is say phone, they can say phone. Bear, they can say bear. Intraverbal is part of a conversation. Could be fill in the blanks, answering questions, can be given the answer with words, signs, gestures, communication device. And some different data you might see or targets you might be collecting data on would be the examples listed. So the itsy bitsy spider, and they can fill that in. Listening and responding is following a direction. Sit at your desk, and the student sits down. Find your textbook, they hand you the book. Imitation equals repeating a motor action, fine motor, gross motor, oral motor. So you could say, do this. Student then claps their hands. Do this. And then they can either hold the same up and then do this. So oral would be like, oh. Can they make the O shape out of their mouth? And then here's just a little visual for you. So feel free to screenshot. Again, feel free to screenshot. Okay, so we went over curriculum-based, we went over developmental-based assessment, and then now we're going to just touch base on social skills assessments. So these assessments include observation and recording behaviors to mastery of the skills. So examples, playing with a peer,
Families living with autism spectrum disorder often look for tips on how to handle the many different challenges that may arise. Real Life Tips for Kids with Autism is a series of practical videos and resources presented by the experts at Children's Specialized Hospital.
So here's just some examples.
Social skills are really important for children with autism because a lot of kids with autism lack in that area. They need help in that area. For example, on a playground, they might not know how to take turns when going on a slide. Or at lunchtime, they don't know really how to interact with the other kids on the playground or at the lunch table. There are 3 outlets that parents can use to help teach their children social skills. The first is school-based social skills, and that's basically where a school district would offer a social skills program to a child that needs it. It could be in the classroom, it could be during lunch, or it could be after school. The second kind of social skills that parents can use to help their kids is outpatient social skills, and there's 2 different kinds of that. One is a start-stop group. So it's anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. It starts on the same date, it ends on the same date. There's typically a different topic that the facilitator would work on each week. Another form of outpatient social skills groups are open-ended groups. So these are groups that are ongoing all the time. Typically kids of the same age, not always the same struggles, because you wouldn't want a group with all kids that have the same strengths and weaknesses. It just wouldn't work for a group. But these are more open-ended groups. So kids can come and go as they need it. If a child needs to be there for 3 months, they're there for 3 months. The great thing about open-ended groups is typically there's not a waiting list. You don't need to wait for the group to start because it's open-ended. Kids can come and go as they need the service. The third way that parents can help their kids build their social skills is helping them themselves. They can do that through modeling, like modeling how to act in a specific situation, or role playing. If they know a behavior is challenging for their child, they can act it out, not in that situation, and hopefully help them generalize it into a real life situation. Parents can find social skills groups a lot of different ways. You can talk to your pediatrician. You can do a Google search on the internet. A lot of times in doctors' offices, they have parents magazines with resources in their areas. So those are the best ways to kind of find groups in your area. Another thing that's really good for parents to remember when they're working on social skills with their children is to prepare them for a situation. They can do that through pictures or videos or just talking about what's going to happen. And then during a social situation, cueing them when they need it, maybe when they're struggling with a behavior, or maybe just to remind them, oh, you're doing a good job. The last thing is to have a discussion about it after it's over. Let them know what they did great. Let them know what they need to work on the next time. That way they're kind of learning the skill in a real environment. There are 4 main areas that any social skills program or parent should be working on with their children. The first is having conversations, maintaining friendships or having friendships, expressing their feelings, controlling their emotions, and conflict management skills, what they need to do when they get upset. So parents should be working on this, programs should be working on this, so that they have good experiences on the playgrounds, in the school, and be able to generalize from working with the parent or working in a program into a real life situation. I also think a really good strategy for parents too is to talk to the facilitator of the social skills program and ask them to help them with different skills they could be working with their kids at home to make home life better. As parents, sometimes we need to talk to other parents and other professionals for ideas on how to help us help our kids with their behaviors. So it's really important to do that, and any good social skills facilitator will be able to help you with that. For those people interested in programs to help kids that maybe don't have autism learn more about kids that have autism and facilitating that, and not just autism, anyone with any developmental disability, from Scoutmasters to athletic directors to anyone. We have a great program on our website. It's called Friends Like You, Friends Like Me, and it was a program basically created to teach kids that don't have any disabilities like autism or any other developmental disability about it, and building friendships with those kids. The most important thing that I can say to parents is to just work with where your kids are at and just help them where they are right now, and just continue to build on those skills. And definitely, no matter what, whether you're working with them in the home or you have somebody working with your kids in a program, just make sure that they're generalizing or learning how to generalize those skills to real life. Because it's great if your child knows how to share their trains in your living room, but you also want to make sure when they go to their preschool program that they're able to do it there too. So just continuing to build on those skills so that that skill officially becomes like a learned skill, and then you can work on the next skill.
Okay, so that kind of went over the importance of social skills training. Alrighty, so that kind of covers our topic on assisting with assessment, individualized assessment. So the last part that we're going to touch today on is assisting with functional assessment procedures. So functional behavior assessments are divided into your indirect assessment. So again, that's like interview, any information gathered about the history of the client when you're not actually directly working with the client, your descriptive assessment, and your functional analysis. So this is going to tell you how we figure out the function of the behavior. The indirect portion of this is to gather information without actually observing the direct behavior of your client. So parents and guardians, teachers, if you're going to be working in school, or classroom aides or intervention specialists, you can do it through surveys and questionnaires. And it's used in combination of direct observation and other assessments, and not used just by itself. And it also can include a review of previously recorded data. Your descriptive measures are AKA direct observation of the actual behavior and the surrounding events. It's looking at how the client is interacting with their environment, and ABC data is very common for this section of an FBA, or a functional behavior assessment. It allows the observer to look at the immediate antecedents, aka what triggers the behavior, record what the behavior is looking like, and allows the observer to identify potential consequences of the target behavior. So how are the other individuals responding to the behavior? That's our consequence. It's a scatter plot, and interval recording methods and momentary time sampling are also common. I use momentary time sampling a lot in schools, as well as teachers in schools. Other interval recording methods might be more common in clinic, such as whole or partial interval recording. And RBTs most likely are going to be requested to record ABC data most when assisting with functional assessment procedures, or when you're taking on a new client, or you are noticing a new behavior come up after working with the client for a while. So ABC data is very important to understand how to document. Your functional analysis, aka an FA, it's an experimental manipulation of events and recording of the behavior in order to determine the function of the behavior. So we are testing our hypothesis by arranging antecedents and consequences within the environment. So an example of that would be a child throws items and the behavior analyst suspects this occurs for attention or to avoid work. They may alternate between offering attention or giving them an escape from work, such as a break, and a play condition as a consequence for throwing the items. So for the attention condition in 30 minutes, only give attention when the client throws the items. And then you have another condition, another window of time that you're working with the client. And you're going to work on the escape condition. So only allow escape from tasks when the client throws the items during that 30-minute period. And lastly, there's the play condition. So you can provide attention, but don't give instructions or tasks, and provide a variety of reinforcing items and activities during that 30-minute period. So both the RBT and the BCBA record the number of incidents per condition, and then they compare their data. So that's called IOA, Inter-Observer Agreement, and that you're comparing the data to see how closely your data and the RBTs are to each other. The closer it is, the more accurate the data probably is. So here's what your data might look for this example like. So during that attention condition, there were 5 throws when given attention for throwing. During the escape condition, there were 20 throws and then you offered them a break for throwing. And then during the play condition, where there was nothing asked of them to do, there's only 1 throw. So you can assume that the behavior is probably maintained by escape. And now you can create an intervention to hopefully change that. So an intervention might be teaching them to request a break or activity instead of throwing. Here's a little graph outlining kind of what we just went over. So you have your functional assessment. Your direct observation is your recording antecedents, behaviors, consequence. Your informant methods, aka indirect, is your interviews and questionnaires, and then your FA. So that example that we had again, you have your attention condition, escape condition, play condition, and you're testing different responses or consequences to the behavior to come up with a hypothesis of the function. Okay. So here's just a quote someone said, data is so important. And having an understanding of what the data collection's purpose is. So for assessments, like why are we collecting data? What's our goal through collecting data is an important thing to understand, as well as being able to implement your data collection procedures appropriately. If you want to review and study this material, again, always refer to YouTube. Here's a good section for studying on task list B down here at the bottom. So thanks for paying attention. Just a reminder to write down that secret code word from today's lecture and spend some time completing all of the questions and practice data and practice assessments that are listed in task list B on your virtual training workbook. And feel free to reach out to me, Alex Brown, if you have any questions on today's lecture and need assistance with questions on your workbook. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.